Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tactical Supremacy. Joined today by Alec, and we are showcasing Retribution versus Legion. Any and all likenesses to a popular movie are purely coincidental.
I'm not sure how popular that movie was.
It was very popular. You shut your mouth. Alright, so today's scenario was Standoff, and Alec won the roll and chose to go first.
Yep. I'll let you pick sides.
You did. So what were you running today?
So today I had Abby 1 with the new and improved Archangel, a Blightbringer, Throne of Everblight, and then full of support models. What I didn't deploy was a Gatorman Husk, which is up by the scoreboard there. That's going to be ambushing later on.
Oh. So I brought Helynna today. I decided that I really wanted to put the Hyperion on the table since they got new and improved stuff. I also decided to name mine Gypsy Danger for no particular reason. I just thought it was a really cool name that I heard somewhere. And alongside the Gypsy Danger is 4 of the heavy Shyeel jacks. There are 2 Manticores, a Disco, and a Phoenix. So real quick, I chose to take this side when I was not going first because of the 2 houses that you see Alec kind of measuring around here. I didn't really want to deal with the unpacking. You have flight, so it's a little bit easier, but landing zones are still just kind of tricky. So that's why I ended up taking the second. I was pretty much hemming and hawing whether or not it was a bad idea throughout the entire first round of the game. But, I made the decision, and that's where we were at. So
yeah, I think those forests hindered you more than those houses would.
Yeah, the lack of Pathfinder in my list ended up kind of being a pain in the butt. I did take the Pathfinder objective just for that reason, and I don't really think I got some good enough value out of it, but it is what it is. That was the side I chose to be on.
Yep. You got to start with upkeeps in play.
You also got to start with upkeeps in play.
Sure did.
Yeah. Our theme forces were just very, very similar, aside from the fact that, I'm playing, obviously, the good guys of this situation, and you're the, invading evil alien army.
It all depends on your perspective.
Sure.
So I started with playing God on the Blightbringer, which is how I could get up so far. The Archangel started with Wild Aggression, and I started with Refuge on that throne over there.
Right, and so a lot of what you were doing here in this first turn is you were asking a lot of my threat ranges and pretty much shooting threat ranges.
Yep.
Because this Helmet list does pretty much every jack in the list has a gun of some type, variety, or another with slightly varying degrees of where they can shoot to. So you more or less were just kind of moving up, staying out of that range.
Yeah, I didn't want to accidentally have models get shot off the board turn 1. That would have been real bad, especially if it was my caster.
And something that I was considering this whole time too, or like I had in the back of my head is your feet. Because they did rework her feet a little bit, Abby 1's.
Yeah, I don't remember what it used to be. I think it used to just be healing the battle group, and now it's that plus
rapid healing.
Yeah, rapid healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my list is pretty good into gun lines. Any chip damage I take on the way in just gets healed up by my feet, and then my models just have extra health the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really don't want to see anything that stops healing, so Mortality Casters are pretty rough. Or Go Lab, any Entropic Force things.
Sure. So I was kind of measuring out here. One of Helynna's signature spells is this Hand of Destruction. So I, my plan was to, shoot you, cause that chip damage that you're talking about, and kind of force you to make a choice to feat as you go in, or save that feat for later once you've taken more meaningful damage. And then we remembered that you have flying high, and I can't actually get those shots that we were measuring for anyway. But I do end up still putting the Phoenix out there close enough to get a Hand of Destruction on the Archangel, just because it's a really amazing spell to help the battle group really get their more consistent damage. So that was kind of my plan. And then
and flying high doesn't reduce the range of spells.
No.
So you could just cast that real easy.
And stay far away, because typically I would lose the Phoenix for that, but with Rhythm of War, Helynna can keep them, her Jack's pretty safe there. So I was also measuring to make sure that I was out of the threat range of the Blightbringer or end the throne, so that if you did decide to commit, with something, you would only really get one of your big things onto Hyperion, and I didn't think one of them would be enough to kill it.
Yeah. I do think I misdeployed a little. I think I should have put the Swamp Gobber Bellows crew and swapped it where the throne is, and put this throne down at the bottom there.
Which currently the Bellows crew is down in the trench right next to the Blightbringer.
Yeah, those are white bases.
Yeah, the throne, your positioning on the throne was kind of interesting, I thought. I mean, it had flight, but it just was like way out there.
It threatens 12, but it doesn't move that far because it's only speed 5.
All right, so I'm finishing my turn up here. I do some rhythming around. I do end up feeding on this turn. Your Archangel is in charge range. I kept everything else out, which I'm not sure if that affected your decisions here later on, but I do end up making the decision to feat on this turn, just to kind of like help protect myself as I approach, and then and then see how you go from there.
Yeah, you can't see it right now, but that was the Gatorman Husk getting ambushed in. It's pretty different than most other ambushing units. It can't really do anything the turn comes in. It kind of has to come in as soon as possible and just run as far as it can.
Right, because it
doesn't have any ranged attacks. It does have a retaliatory spray kind of move, but if your opponent just ignores it, it doesn't do anything besides run at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And our feats, I feel like, are pretty similar in this matchup.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I obviously didn't get any work out of my healing of the shields back.
Right, and I was pretty happy with that outcome. My plan here is just to back up. I definitely can't kill anything meaningful, and I have fewer pieces that do a lot of work. So Lanyssa Ryssyl is just to the bottom of that Phoenix.
Yeah, she's on the far end.
I was hoping I'd be able to clip her with a Blightbringer AoE here.
She's a pretty crucial piece of the list, because without her, all of my Jacks have very static threat ranges, since Rhythm all applies at the end of the turn. So, I mean, you were right to be targeting her. She was definitely a linchpin.
Yeah. She's rough. She can always hit those against Legion. I was also a bit worried that she would do her Windstorm or Winter Storm. That would make me lose Pathfinder and Flight.
Which would be
when I have 3 huge bases, it's really important for them to have flying so I can move over my other models without getting in my own way.
Yeah. No, that is a big deal. In there, and that's all why. I mean, it was a very important covering fire, but I just randomly I put that there to try to protect Lanyssa, so that your the Sorceress on the Hellion down in the bottom zone wouldn't just come up and randomly engage her. I mean, I need a spike to do anything meaningful, but it was just kind of more as a deterrent to dissuade you from.
Yeah, she's also cold immune, so
crazy ideas.
The Sorceress can't walk in and use her Frostbite spray for damage. I know I cast Wraithbane somewhere. It was on the Blightbringer. I was thinking I could get some damage at range here, but between Deceleration, Discordia's Imprint, and your feet, we're just maybe doing 1 damage to shields, and that's about it.
Yeah, Disco's in the center of that bubble of Jacks. They all basically look the same. but she is the one in the center projecting her kinetic field to everyone in the battle group. So yeah, under feet, like my jacks are sitting there at arm 25 against shooting. So you do end up sending that AoE 5 into the Phoenix to try to clip Lanyssa, and I shield guard that into the Manticore up front, just to kind of keep that from not actually the blast damage not getting her, because Lanyssa wasn't in the kinetic field range to be immune.
Yeah, so it goes off, gets shield guarded into nowhere, and I do some meaningless chip damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you spiked the damage pretty good on
Did
it.
I?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was the 655 roll that like took half his shields at arm 25, and I was just like, "Cool, that hurt."
23 because I did have Wraithbane.
Right.
No decel.
So you were ignoring the decel. So it was at arm 23. So I'm really curious, though. It was important to note that we just you blight bursted the Hyperion,
Yes.
which was cute. I don't know if Abby had that before she got redone. Is that like a signature? I have never seen that before.
It is. It's a signature spell to her. Saren has a spell called Blightbringer, which is very similar in AoE 5.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly.
So basically, it is a POW 13, which the damage was more or less meaningless on a Hyperion, but the important part is that you can't spend Focus or Fury when you are inside the AoE, which means that...
For non-war casters.
For non-war casters. Good point. But the important part is Hyperion can't charge. So you can just sit there just outside of the walk range of the... very, very static, because Hunter's Mark, of course, is only on a charge. Yep.
And so if you had Hunter's Mark, you'd be able to charge out because you charge for free without spending a focus.
That's fair.
But with Lanyssa all the way on the bottom, I didn't have to worry about that with the Archangel.
Sure. At some point, you did measure to make sure that the Archangel, but I mean, you're probably like 3 feet away at this point. You're miles as far as we're concerned.
Yep. That's where I like to be.
Yeah. So I have a quick question, because I was curious. Like, I did only put the Hyperion in charge range of the Archangel. The only thing, if I had put more stuff in range of your charging, would you have committed on my feet turn?
No.
You were just never going to?
There's no way.
Because,
like,
I mean, good.
So because I have fewer pieces, if I charge in and get one heavy, you probably kill the Archangel in response, and that's not worth it for me.
That's fair.
I need to kill more things. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the goal, was to make sure that you didn't like come in and just start wrecking me. I was kind of hoping that you would do a little committing, but you opted not to, and I didn't know if that was because I didn't give you enough to entice you to commit, or if you were just never going to once when the feat was up.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever going to.
So at this point, you pass turn, and now it's my turn to look at the retaliations here. So you do not... Lanyssa is still hanging out down in that forest. So now this is where the Gatorman Husk did run up, but wasn't close enough to get...
any charges.
To the... it wasn't close enough to get to the... to contest, or to get anyone into melee here. So at this point, I'm trying to see, okay, what did you give me? What's in range here? Hyperion's not going to really do any melee, but it's got pretty decent shooting, as it turns out, which was something I was looking at.
Yep, I was trying to mess with your shooting with 2 Wind Ravagers, one from each Sorceress and Hellion. So you've got the one right outside that forest, and the other one's kind of in between the Archangel and the throne there.
Right, it's hiding.
But it wasn't close enough to really stop the Hyperion from actually walking
doing
away
what I wanted to do. Yeah. Because right where that proxy is just above the Hyperion, is where I was measuring to basically go stand in the zone. You didn't have a unit that was nearby there, but I just didn't want to give you like a free zone that you could run into later on in your, on your next turn that I wasn't actively contesting.
Yeah.
The Hyperion is standing in a fire forest, and I just pretty much lived in that fire the whole time.
Yep.
You did actually put your Animus up on, I think it was this turn, which was pretty cute, to make me take a POW 14 damage roll.
Yep.
You didn't roll very well, but
I think
still,
it was damage.
Yeah, I mean, it was cute. It was funny. Yeah, and so I've just taken some time here to figure this out. Since Lanyssa has got her thing, I'm pretty much planning this out. all of those small bases in the back are Arcanists. I've got the 2 free units and then the full 3. So Helynna pretty much hands 0 focus out on this on any of her turns, and then lets all the Arcanists power up the jacks. If they all use focus, pretty much all of my jacks go up to full except for one of them. So I usually don't need to worry. The list was designed that way, where I just don't have to worry about the focus. So taking some time here. This is going and landing. The Hand of Destruction was on the Archangel, which I don't know if you intentionally flew it out there to get it to move it away, but it was. Yeah, I had to move it to somebody else relevant.
Yeah, I mean, that needs to survive. It's a full 35 points on my list.
It's a pretty good, decent chunk of the list there.
Whereas the throne is only 16.
Right. So Helynna was the first one to go. She came up and she, with Sylys, was able, she gets +2 inches if she doesn't channel. So she was able to step up, right, kind of hiding behind Disco there, towing the zone, and landing the Hand of Destruction on the throne now, where I do have, assuming I can land a Hunter's Mark, I would be able to have one of my mana cores get it in there and charge you. So since scoring is going to start on this turn, I'm kind of moving my jacks into contest and things like that. Obviously, I know things are going to start dying at this point, and it's just a matter of putting myself to hopefully where I don't lose a ton.
Yeah, the throne is my most disposable piece, or a piece that can do damage in this list. You don't have units it can get to, so it can't kill things and then do sprays and ice cages or anything like that.
Right, you'd have to get through my line of jacks to get into meaningful pieces.
Exactly. It only does it's got 4 POW 16s, which, I mean, they'll do damage, but without any boosts, it's not consistent enough to really, do enough work against these jacks, I think.
Sure. Yeah, some chip damage.
Yeah.
I mean, they are Retribution jacks, so their armor is a little bit lower. That 18 without buffs is kind of, it's difficult against a dedicated target. But the Manticore with the Hunter's Mark and the Hand of Destruction gets in there on the throne. It was actually really cute, really enjoyable this whole game, having Lanyyssa's stuff be boosted because you're Legion.
Yep.
And it's great. So getting the free charge, I did end up using Force Generator because of that free charge, and a Manticore actually did something. Well,
this time.
Yeah, this time. I haven't fielded one in a long time, but I wanted to do it just to show up somebody who shall remain nameless. Getting that work done with the sweet, sweet Manticore. Totally. How many points is it thrown?
16.
Yes! 2 points of positive.
But what did that other Manticore do that just...
It is about to step up to the Blightbringer and sacrifice itself gallantly in the face of that giant maw of lava spewing nastiness. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen to him. But in the meantime, Hyperion decides to step out of the Blight Burst range and leverage its guns. And I decide that since it is turn 2, I get to go after the objective. We haven't pulled it yet, but I cranked the damage roll with that.
One attack.
Yeah, I didn't crit it with the hit, but I did just destroy it with one shot. Straight dice, POW 18, I boosted it, and it was gone.
Yep.
Which was amazing. And then proceeded to not actually have any meaningful targets to shoot for the rest of my shots, which was great.
Well, you only had one shot on your left side, so you only got one chance at the Sorceress and Hellion.
Yeah, and I missed her, which was sad. The right side did roll a sweet 3 shots, and then I did not feel like shooting at the Shepherd that was engaged. Yeah, it didn't seem like a great idea since, it was a 1 wound model, and my Jack, I didn't really want to. I mean, part of the whole idea of this list is I only have, 4 heavies, 1 colossal. Like, they need to survive. It's hard to see, but pretty much throughout this game, anytime I have extra focus, I'm constantly trying to heal shields back. I never did a repair. It never really became relevant, but I did, I think, end up healing probably 20 points of damage back off of spread across all of my jacks.
I don't think it was...
And the Phoenix Field.
Yeah, I don't think it was a full 20, but you did heal a solid amount.
we're getting in here at the end of the turn. I've done pretty much everything I want. I'm going to score 2 points on this turn. I have the Phoenix Rhythm into that Sorceress since I know that next turn she's just going to come in and pop Lanyssa, and I want to make that slightly more difficult for you to do.
Yep.
I kind of spent some time deciding. I'm not really sure if that mana core moving back to the center of the table was a great idea or not. Because with your flight, you can pretty much go anywhere you want, and I was trying to like limit the amount of stuff you could get onto. And it's just difficult because you could just take a free strike and not really care. Speaking
of free strikes, this Gatorman Husk charges in to contest the zone mostly and maybe kill an Arcanist that does concentrated power because that's a bigger issue than you having extra focus.
You got into my back line, so I quickly checked to see what happens. I'm like, I'll put some chip damage on him. It'll be fine. And I
do exactly enough all-in damage
kill it.
To kill it.
Which was great. So we had to figure out where he essentially walked out of the AoE, and then walked out to take the free strike, and then apparently it's an AoE 5. And you did
AoE 5, POW 12, their armor 12. They all just go splat, and there's a hazard there.
It was great.
On the bright side, I'm not contesting with that model.
Yeah, but he probably got plenty of work done removing that. I spent the whole rest of the turn sitting there like, was that really a good idea? Like, these are the consequences of your actions that you have to live with for the rest of the game.
I think you managed okay without having those 3 Arcanists.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see it later on this, but yeah, it was pretty amazing. I was expecting a little chip damage and just ended up just wrenching something to the face. It was, hey, look, Ma, no hands. Oh, yeah, crap.
So my plan this turn was to kill 2 or 3 heavies, and then score 1 or 2 points, and get on with my life.
Right, because I mean. The throne was a throwaway piece, but it was still a pretty significant chunk of the list that at this point I haven't lost anything besides some support models.
Yep. So I see that the Archangel can charge that Manticore and then reposition 3 to stay outside of the Hyperion's base threat of 10.
Correct.
So I needed to move that Naga out of the way, and I tried to shoot Lanyssa because her free charges are a problem. And
turns out
missed.
9's really hard to hit.
9's really hard to hit, even with Puppet Master.
Kind
of a bummer, but instead we have the Archangel charge in, and it just wrecks this Manticore with his initials.
Yeah.
It has wild aggression, so all of its melee attacks are boosted, and I didn't even need to buy or boost any of the attacks.
I was going to say, you got it on the initials, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Which was gross.
Then I repositioned 3 to stay outside of that 10 inches.
I like how the wings constantly keep coming on, or they keep getting put on and then taken off and then put on and then taken off throughout this entire game.
Yeah, this is fine.
It's great. These things are fun.
I did mess up a little bit the previous turn. I had wished... I was hoping to take less damage on Abby herself, so I didn't warp strength, which I should have. I didn't need it that previous turn, but this turn I do need it, and I need the Blightbringer to go before Abby.
Because it's interesting, because her mutations, I mean, I asked you about this before, they last until she activates next, which is nice. That is really nice, because then you can go with the beasts before that has the forced evolution on, or Playing God on it. So yeah, so it did actually kind of, matter a little bit on this one.
Yeah, especially since I missed the Phoenix for my left attack. And I know I need to get rid of that Manticore so I can score. Getting rid of the Phoenix would also have me start scoring, but the Manticore is closer to my caster.
No, that's fair.
I leave it on 1 box after when I have 1 Fury left. So I buy my last attack onto the Phoenix to do some damage there.
Right, because you figure that someone deeper in your backfield there can clean up a one hit point Manticore.
Yeah, it's going to be Abby herself. And I did use the Withering Ash light aura effect.
Right, which was kind of obnoxious, because then it made it a lot easier to hit all of this stuff. Which I feel like, that was the right call, because a few misses there would have made it really, really bad times.
Right.
though both my jacks are pretty far away from anyone that can heal them, so the crippled systems are probably going to stick. And since my feet's already gone, that wasn't going to help, but still, I think it was the right call. So this, I think, was kind of a bit of a misplay for me, too, with the way I positioned the Phoenix. Just knowing which way to face arcs and stuff like that for when it matters, because
I just flew right over and attacked Lanyssa anyway.
Yeah.
This is where I kind of wish I had... Well, I missed anyway, but I was hoping to kill her. The +2 strength and armor would have helped for warrior models if I did...
with the Blightbringer.
With the Blightbringer aura.
Yeah. But yeah, the being able to just fly over there and not even worry about a free strike because you're still in the arc of the Phoenix was very obnoxious. That's some pretty high level stuff that I still am struggling to know which way exactly the arc should be facing.
Yeah, and especially with the that Husk dying, that Sorceress and Hellion is now my contesting piece.
Right.
It needed to stay in that zone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Abby went in, killed that Manticore, and then I misplayed here. I charged myself too far. So I had ran the Spell Martyr closer to keep her in control, and then I charged, and it left my control. So I was hoping to Blight Burst the Hyperion again.
Since Lanyssa was still alive, now suddenly your Archangel's in my charge range.
Well,
if I land a Hunter's Mark.
You're right.
So that was all. So the Blight Burst would stop me from charging.
Not if you get a free charge.
100 bar. I keep forgetting.
So it's a little fortunate for me. The other way I could have stopped the Hunter's Mark was if I did Spiritual Corruption with the Blightbringer and said no spells within 6. I think you probably could have just walked out of it pretty easily.
I would have had to kill the Hellion so that I didn't take the free strike. But yeah. And I still feel like the def debuff was better just because you weren't rolling particularly great on your to hit rolls.
Yep,
if I remember
did miss
correctly.
one with Snake Eyes.
Yeah, so like they're definitely you missed like 2 of those hits and suddenly that Manticore's got almost half its health back. And now Abby has to spend a lot more effort trying to kill it.
Because that Spell Martyr was out of my control, I decided to feat this turn. I heal up a little bit of damage.
I don't think I've attacked either of them at this point.
The Naga healed 1 because it took damage from Blast. Abby herself took damage.
But the big guys hadn't.
Right, and so I'm hoping that even though I didn't Blight Burst, maybe I can survive the turn.
Sure. So you do score a point. I still have the scenario advantage here, and you only have one piece kind of contesting my zone. So now the plan is, all right, I've got... Your unit also, I noticed, had moved back around the house to the point where it would be pretty difficult for all of them to run into the zone.
I think with Apparition and Running, they could have all gone into that zone.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I never really used the Apparition because I didn't need it, but it was on my mind. I didn't completely forget about it. But with Apparition Running, I think I could have gotten them into zone. The bigger issue is that you're contesting with the Colossal, and I can't score if that's in there.
Right. I mean, that was the thing was, whether or not I'd leave the zone or not. But the proxy I had out there was if the Hunter's Mark hits, then I'd be able to go after your Archangel and stay within, or stay in the zone to contest. So we go with the typical play, which seems like land a Hand of Destruction on whatever I'm going to try to kill that turn, hit it with a Hunter's Mark, and then send something in. I can't remember if it was this turn or the last turn, but I messed up and forgot to cast D-Cell. I believe it was on this turn.
Yeah, it's this turn.
And, we were talking about it after I'd, done other activations and stuff like that, whether or not it was going to matter the next turn. I don't really know. I don't think you actually did any shooting.
Yeah, the lines are engaged. My big pieces need to start punching things.
Right.
They have a lot of melee output, considering they have 4 or 5 Fury and 3 initials each. So
right, and I mean, like I had been talking about it, that's like whether or not I camp extra focus. I mean, you have 2 Gargantuans. If one of them gets on Helynna, I don't think focus is going to save me.
Yep.
So it probably would have been better off just being in the habit of doing it right. But it is what it is. So landed all the sweet stuff. When the Hyperion charge, I took a free strike from the Forsaken. I think that...
Or the Hellion.
The Hellion.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah. You mentioned... Because he did charge in front of the Hyperion, and I was terrified that you were going to leave him there.
Yep, and I repositioned him away to the side because I was thinking, it's Discordia? Discordia would just walk up, spray it dead, and then you'd get it anyway.
Right, which I could have, but I'd have to, like, it would just mess with the order of activations. Yeah, but because I was also planning on having Disco be my follow-up if Hyperion doesn't remove that Archangel, but it turns out with Hand of Destruction and a free charge with a POW 23, even under your feet.
Yeah, dice +4 will wreck even if I have 50 boxes.
Yeah, so I don't even think I needed all my focus because I used some of it to bring my shields back.
I think you had one left that you used to heal shields.
Yeah, so I was feeling pretty good after that. So, you know, I was kind of trying to decide here now what I was going to do. I was looking to see if I could charge Disco at the Naga, but that Blightbringer with Flight, it's not going to care if it takes a free strike from a Phoenix, and there's just, with Flight, there's just so many places you could get it to that...
Yep, it can see Helynna from where it is if it charges because of Flight.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out how with Rhythm of War if I can find a way to get back or this, that, the other thing, and then just end up deciding the right play is to keep Disco protecting Helynna. Yeah, so that's where I was kind of like noting, like, all right, if I go here, then Blightbringer just comes here and I die. If I go here, then Blightbringer just goes here and I die. Then I was trying to get cute. I kind of really wish I'd gotten that Forsaken because it turns out, you know, being able to suck. I kept looking for a chance where you'd be like high on Fury, and it just never really. Your Fury management was pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it was the other part that, since, you know, we talked about that I lost all those Arcanists, was that, you know, it did, you are right, it didn't end up really mattering because I ended up just having exactly enough in the right positions to be able to apply all the focus and concentrate powers where I needed them.
Because your models, you know, because heavies were dying, you didn't need that extra focus anyway. I'm really glad I got rid of one with concentrated power. That I don't think you ever really got it back onto the Phoenix.
No, the Phoenix, I mean, it would have probably been nice to put some extra focus on the Phoenix. I probably could have done that with Helynna's since I pretty much left Disco there to stop you from getting to her. And you're measuring out to see if I screwed up, which thankfully fingers crossed. Didn't.
Both at about 7 minutes-ish now.
Yeah, we're both pretty low on clock. There's been a lot of tank time trying to, you know, puzzle out how not to get hit with our pieces.
Yeah, so since that assassination requires me to remove either Disco or your objective before I get to you, I decide the better plan is to kill your Colossal.
Yep. Question. I was wondering why you didn't have because you talked about the Sorceress Hellion charging the objective, which, yeah, it's a 9, so it's off 9, but it's boosted. It could get a little chip damage. Could you have put Refuge on the Naga and charged it in, gotten the objective, and then refuged away?
That requires Abby to go first, and she's my backup for killing the Hyperion.
Okay.
Or the Phoenix.
Which makes sense. No, that's fair.
So I moved the Hellion in closer to give my Blightbringer a free charge. It charges for free, stays in melee, so it doesn't take an extra free strike.
Yep, more of that just not really positioning greatly with the arcs there.
Yep.
But,
and
so
I think it kills it on its own.
Yeah, so you go into basically a full health Hyperion. It had one shield box after I had healed back some of it, and I kind of thought I would survive, but it turns out Gargantuans on Colossals, it's still pretty.
So with Warp Strength, because I had it from the previous turn, I'm at dice plus 1 attack.
Yep.
And then 2 dice off 1 attacks, and then 5 Fury.
Yeah, poor Gypsy Danger.
You deserved it. Here I'm wishing that the Forsaken had Flight, but it can't get around there, so Abby's going to go do it. The Blightbringer did say Dragon's Blood, or Dragon's Breath, so she does go up to a POW 17. So we have 2 initials at dice off 1, and then I bought a couple more attacks and wrecked the Phoenix as well.
Yeah,
because I had Refuge up, I just got to walk away scot-free as well.
Yep. Yeah, that was kind of a nail in the coffin for me there. I was feeling pretty good with the 2 heavies that I could take out your Blightbringer, but when Abby ran in there and killed it, I was like, well, heavy versus gargantuan. Let's do this.
Yep.
But yeah, and then the other unfortunate part is those Gobber Swamp Bellows crews start scoring that zone.
Yeah. So let me get 2 points this turn.
Yep. So now we're tied. I'm really, really low on clock. And I'm kind of in a.
I do notice it looks like it did mess up with Fury. I didn't move one with Abby. The Forsaken did have an extra room to pull an extra one off the Blightbringer. So it didn't end up mattering in the long run, but I did accidentally just.
Oh, well, the game's null and void then.
No, it's not your fault.
Unbelievable. All right. So. Yeah, the question is, all right, I'm trying to figure out the math because I'm pretty sure without massive amounts of spiking, Disco cannot get the Blightbringer, even with Lanyssa still being alive, even with Hand of Destruction. I just don't think it's there. There's also a Naga in my way, which is problematic.
But you go for it anyway.
Yeah, well, I didn't really think I had another option because Disco has to start doing work, which means Helynna is going to have real difficult times hiding from the Blightbringer. And I just didn't have enough time on my clock left to keep pushing the attrition.
I think you started this turn with about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I ended my turn with 7.
Right. Yeah, we were both very, very low, but it was still problematic. I was kind of bleeding time here and pieces. You had more meaningful stuff than I did at this point. So the Arcanists are just, still trucking away with the focus efficiency, which was really nice. This was amazing. I managed to crit knock down your Hellion with boxcars because I didn't need it. And
you got her.
Yeah, it was great. You had extra armor, which made me sad. I didn't do anything to it. So I kind of gave up at that point on actually trying to score my zone again. So Helynna decides, all right, we're going to commit to this, killing the Blightbringer, but I got to remove a Naga. And I really, really enjoy. She has basically like the battle mages, Helios's push on her gun. I think it's one of the coolest. Yeah, and her melee. So she walked around, melees the Naga, and pushes him away. I did have to double check there because you have to do the push instead of the damage.
Right. So I didn't end up taking any of the damage you rolled.
Right. Because I said I wanted to push, and then I rolled the damage, then realized I couldn't get the damage, but it was all right.
Could you have put Helynna in a spot where you could get to be Hellion as well, and just push both of them out?
I thought about it, but I didn't feel like taking the time to measure it out because it looked pretty far to be able to melee and send. I mean, yeah, I knocked down the Hellion, which was great, but I can't melee and shoot, and so it'd have to be melee for both of them if I was going to do it because the Naga was already engaged. So it would have been really tough to hit the Naga. And at this point, I was kind of committed to I'm either going to kill this Blightbringer or I'm going to die. So I ended up throwing in a Blit at it from Helynna as well.
And Hand of
Destruction. Does a little bit of chip damage. Yeah, the Hand of Destruction goes out. And then Disco runs in there, punches him a bunch, and just left you with
13 boxes.
13 boxes? It was pretty good. I was rolling a little below. I mean, I was doing like 4 and 5 damage rolls. I wasn't spiking like I was before. If I'd gotten spikes, I don't know what the exact math on it was, but there was a not insignificant chance I think I could have taken the Blightbringer out in one go. Hand of Destruction is amazing for consistent damage. Yeah,
I mean, it's good.
Yep.
I have 2 options here. I can either sit back and basically let you clock yourself and pass the turn every turn. Because I'm scoring points still, and you're not.
And I had 12 seconds left on my clock.
Yep. So you don't have enough time to start scoring points, and I'm already ahead. But I decided it'd be more fun to just eat Helynna alive.
Yeah. So yeah, you decide to go and get spicy with her. And just like Ron Perlman, you ate her and her shiny shoes.
I don't get it.
You are the worst.
I get an additional die because I get crit poison.
Yeah, on the hit. And so just to add insult to injury.
5, 5, 6 for the damage roll at dice plus 5. So she just gets wrecked.
Yep. And she dies. But I didn't clock myself.
You're not wrong.
All right. So I have a final question for you. Say you were to categorize your gargantuans on a 1 to 4 scale, like hurricanes. Where would you classify them? For no particular reason.
You know, I feel like the Archangels probably about a 2 or a 3, and the Blightbringer's a 5.
A category 5?
Yeah.
Wow. Never seen one before. It's impressive.
First time for everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very interesting. So, any other final thoughts on that aside from terrible references?
I was hoping to test out the throne. This was not the matchup for it.
Sure.
It could easily have been an Angelius and done a lot more work in this matchup specifically. But I think overall it gives the list a way to deal with lots of infantry, aside from the few blasts I have.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, right now, the rest of the ID is still pretty fresh. I really feel like it's kind of the Wild West out there as far as, you know, what Ret is still settling down with, how their meta shakes out. I mean, it's great because we're all still trying to figure it out and what we really like. This Helynna list was sort of a ripoff of a list that took second place at Jeff Con not too long back, sans an extra Hyperion and a few Manticores and stuff like that. I actually really did enjoy it. It wasn't, I mean, going up against 3 huge bases isn't exactly what it wants to see either. I mean, the covering fires were completely irrelevant.
Oh, that's because Manticores are bad.
If you say so. But it was really interesting. I mean, it was kind of designed to heal, and I did a lot of that, which I really liked. Lanyssa with the Hunter's Mark is really great. Obviously, I need to protect her really well. I mean, the only reason she ended up being alive was just because you got unlucky with some dice rolls.
Yep.
But, you know, and the Hand of Destruction Hunter's Mark combo, I think, is actually really, really nice.
Yeah.
They synergize really well together and really actually make it so that I don't feel like I'm missing models when I only have 4 heavies and a Colossal to put damage out. So I didn't get a chance to shoot with the list very much, which will be something interesting I'd like to try. But overall, I was really happy with it. Just a little bit better play management. I don't feel like I made any terribly massive mistakes. It was just we both were slogging it out, and your threat ranges and damage output, I think, just eventually tipped the scales. Yeah,
the threat ranges being so far, and flight is still really good, ignoring a lot of the terrain and models in my way when I'm charging.
Yeah, I kept asking because I kept forgetting, like, oh, you can see that? And you're like, I have flight, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, damn it, you're right.
Yep.
So, yeah, the whole trying to block line of sight never really worked.
Yeah, it doesn't pan out for that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. If you want to see more great videos, you can click right here.
And remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell for all the notifications.
I thought the bell was to reset the clock.